So, is the American dream still possible today? And can you retire happy? That's the subject of today's video. And I want to start with some comments coming in from you in the community. This is from Miraz. And Miraz says, I retired due to shoulders not working and causing severe pain. I can relate to what you said. It gets boring to do, quote, nothing. So I started a company repairing and upgrading older iMacs. Here's another person coming from the community. I just want to give you guys different perspectives. This is from Rowena. She says, here in the Philippines, pension received by retired people is so small to provide for their daily needs. People cannot to afford to be bored. And this topic came up because I mentioned, for me personally, as I get older, I'm always going to want to be doing something. So these days, I love doing YouTube and hang out with you guys because it keeps my mind active, and I like to engage with you in the community. But for some people, right, they can't afford to be bored because you essentially have to keep working. So everyone's situation is going to be different. And again, the question is the American dream still possible, and can you retire happy? And also, we have an international community, so I like to hear different perspectives on this stuff. This is coming in from David. David says, I sold my business when I was 52. I had 350 employees and 100 clients to manage. I had two younger business partners who bought my share of the business. I had a chronic back pain that after two operations was no improvement. I cannot sit or stand for long, so I retired after the sale of business. I am now 64 now. I have no regrets. I am financially secure. I never get bored. I keep myself involved in my family and friends. Don't work until you die. No rewards for that. All my friends who have retired are all very happy. A couple of people mentioned physical things. Guys, that's also very, very real. Depending on, your particular situation, sometimes you're physically, forced to do something else. And I completely agree, don't kill yourself, especially physically. And this is one of the, things that hopefully people can do is be able to retire and enjoy their life and spend time with friends and family. You should always be doing something. Obviously watch this channel and have communication and talk with each other. It's good for your mind to stay active. I've seen a lot of people who get older and they just kind of, I don't know, they stop their job and they stop having a purpose in life, right? And they kind of deteriorate, to be perfectly frank. And so one of the most important things is just keep your mind active. That's why I try to introduce you guys to something new every day, or just having these conversations, knowing there's other people out there in your situation that you can relate to, and that's sort of what we're talking about. So thanks for sharing your story, David. Here's someone else. This is from Burke. Burke says, worked until 60, paid off mortgage, inherited a pile of money. I'm 76. Life is great. Perhaps I'll outlive Trump. Here's another person from MC Dash. They say, worked from age 13 to 60, collect retirement from Postal Service, federal TSP, military disability, and just started Social Security at $3,000 a month, all because of Democrats plus inheritance. Don't even read the SS. I think that must be Social Security, or don't even need the Social Security. America chose a convicted felon and bad person for president. Who cares? By the way, NVIDIA to the moon, and Netflix also. LOL. Again, I just like sharing you guys different perspectives from different people in the community. And people come from all walks of life, all backgrounds. And I also want to show you too, this is the demographics of the channel. It has been changing this month, and I just want to give you an update. Now we have 21% female viewers, 78% male viewers. So that's actually good. We gotta boost up our female numbers. I'd like to get 50-50, gender parity if we can. We also have this 13 to 7-year-olds, 0%. So young kids don't want to watch the channel. Younger kids, 18 to 24, 2.2%. Then you got 25 to 34, 9.5%. And then past 34 is the bulk of the channel. So I have to add this up in my head here. So it's 30, 50, 70, like, I don't know, am I looking at 90% or something like that? So the vast majority of the channel are over 35. So you guys can kind of see where you are. And then in terms of country, 55% of the viewers are from the US. And then we have Canada, UK, Australia, Germany, and then lots of other places also watch the channel. I'm just sharing this stuff with you guys because it's, you're kind of curious who else is in the community. And I can only report this one time in the life of my channel. We actually passed this number. It's funny, I screenshot it just at the right time. Elon Musk would be happy. We passed 69,420. silly videos, but it is what it is. And if you like my channel, I just recommend picking up a copy of my book. It's called Positive Angle, and I share sort of my experiences regarding working and happiness and this kind of stuff. But in terms of the American dream and happiness, I want to look at what people are saying. I can definitely see there are divisions in society, and it all depends on your neck of the woods and what you're experiencing. So, for example, the more money you make, you think that you're more satisfied in your life, which isn't shocking, but I just want to show you the numbers for yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be that money, makes you more satisfied or happy, but let's be honest, you do need a certain amount of money to, just live, pay for food, pay for where you live, living expenses, these kind of things. So I don't want to ever discount that, money is unimportant. Money is clearly important, but I think there's limits to that, right? To where, you get past a certain point, meeting your daily needs and it's a different category. But basically what this chart is showing you, say, if you make over 100K in 2024, what your idea of being satisfied life is like 58% of the people say that, right? It's still not everybody, but people do say that, opposed to if you make less. People who are married say they are happier, at least 57%, but that's, it's still not necessarily like, overwhelmingly, because you could honestly, you could be in a bad situation if you're married, right, to someone that you don't like, and that happens. That really happens. So that's why people get divorced later in life. This is an interesting one, whether or not religious services make you more happy than if you don't go. I'll be curious to your thoughts on that. My understanding of any of these kind of things is feeling that you're part of a community is important to your mental health. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be religious. You could be following a particular sports team. Like I said, you can be hanging out in this channel in the community. It's just good to have communication with other people. Humans are social beings, and it's something important. So, but yes, religious service attendance, for many people, gives them more satisfaction in their lives. Are you a college grad or not a college grad? I think this probably would be tied to income, so it's kind of related. But if you went to college, you have a little bit higher chance of being happier. This is kind of an interesting one. Democrat, Independent, Republicans. Democrats tend to be a little bit more happier, but this is like 2024. But I guess in 2023, Republicans were happier. So or satisfied. I think the better word to say is satisfied with their personal lives. So that's kind of an interesting one. Maybe that's to do with the election, that kind of stuff. Who knows? I'll be curious if you guys are judging that. And then also age. There's a divide. Older people tend to be a little bit more satisfied than younger people, which is something I've been seeing in the data quite a bit. And the basic gist of it is that it breaks down that younger people have a little bit less hope for the future because things are more difficult these days. And anyone who kind of been following this stuff, I think you probably already know this story. This is another question. Americans are split over whether the American dream is possible. 53% of Americans think it is still possible. It's the American dream. Was once possible. 41% say that was never possible. That's at 6%. And this is what I wanted to talk with you guys about, the breakdown by different groups. It depends who you ask with all these kind of things, right? So this is your breakdown. Basically, the older you are, you still think it's possible. The younger you are, you're starting to doubt the American dream a little bit more. And then you're going to see the same sort of situation. The more money you have, oh yeah, it's definitely possible. And the lower you go down in income, you feel like it's impossible. This is also a problem in the USA, and it's not just USA, it's all around the world. This living expenses are so high. Generally speaking, you want to try to keep your living expenses under 30% of your total income that you bring home. But a lot of people are well beyond that. So for example, the way that you read this one here is how many people pay 30% or more, and I think this is rent. Yeah, on renting your house, it's like 52% of Americans pay 30% or more on their living expenses and then the rent. And then looking at renters again, if you're paying over half your income on rent, it's like 26% of people are doing that. Guys, I really know things are expensive. That's why I'm showing you this stuff, and I just want to give you guys a kind of a more larger perspective to show you're not alone and show you what's going on with the overall economy. It depends where you live. So I'm just throwing this chart up there. You guys can pause it. You can look at it for yourself. But the basic gist of it is how you read this is the darker colors mean that a larger percent of your income goes to your housing, basically, right? So the more expensive places be your Florida, Georgia, Texas, and I guess it's interesting. Well, it's interesting because it's not necessarily how can I say, it's not necessarily just expense. It would be like the expense of living compared to incomes, right? But then Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, these are all in here. And those are among renters. Okay. All households, California is the most expensive one in terms of, the proportion of your, the rents compared to, or just rents and mortgages, housing expenses, I should say, compared to your incomes. And then you got homeowners, your mortgages. California and Florida is the highest, and I guess it's like, I think that how you read this number is 27% of your income goes to your mortgage. Just want to throw some numbers up there. A couple of things that have been on my mind recently is, I know a lot of people, as you get older, you need to downsize, right? It's just how it is. Like during your working years, you make a lot more. And then when you leave and you go to retirement, and everyone's going to depend. Some people actually do better in the retirement, but the average person makes less than in your working years. You got to figure out a different situation, right? You no longer have kids in the house. Maybe you want to find a smaller place. And where a lot of people right now feel trapped is you may have a mortgage that is, very low right now, right? Maybe you're sitting on a 2 or 3% mortgage and you're looking around like, okay, I want to go somewhere that's a little bit smaller, downsize a bit, but like, look at the housing price of everything. It's like insane, right? I'm sure you guys know this. And then you look at mortgage rates, I think they're like 6.5%, and that doesn't really make sense. Rents have been coming down a little bit, but it depends on which areas you're looking. And then you also have to think about, do I really want to leave my friends and family in the neighborhood that I've, been for years? And it's a tough choice for people. And everyone's going to make a different decision on that. I'm just sharing some thoughts of what the situation is, and I'd like to hear from people in the community. What are your choices that you've made? My feeling on this stuff is, you have to really, in a sense, turn off social media, be it on your Facebooks, your Twitters, or whatever, because oftentimes people get sad and depressed because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people out there. You're like, oh, and I just saw a friend that they just went to Europe. I have a friend who just bought this, new boat. I have a friend who's like fishing every day, right? But you don't know other people's situation. As mentioned in the comments early on, some people get inheritances, right? And you can't really compare your inheritance or lack thereof to someone who did get an inheritance. Other people may had different experiences in the job market, and it could some could be to a fault, some could not be. This happens sometimes. Sometimes you get at a particular company, and you've arrived and you realize that you just don't want to play office politics. Me personally, I hate office politics stuff. I hate kissing up to the boss. That's not my personality. I just don't want to do it, and I don't like to be around people who do. But to be fair, for people who are willing to do that kind of stuff, you can do pretty well. It all depends, what kind of thing that you're willing to do. So, for me, it just wasn't a thing that I ever wanted to do. Or for me, I didn't like to pretend ever that I like someone, when I don't like them at all, but you just kind of like, snuggle up to them to try to better your career. I just don't like that kind of thing. Not that a person doesn't want to better their career. And guys, I used to work in film in Hollywood, right? So, that's all about networking and who etc. But it just I only want to work with people I want to work with, like that I like. And everyone's gonna, like I said, everyone has different trade-offs on that. And so that's stuff that why it's not good to compare yourself to other people, because everyone has different priorities in life. I will say the number one priority in your life should be happiness. I think that's a pretty safe thing to say. Who doesn't want to be happy? But you're going to have to define that, what makes sense for you. My personal opinion in terms of the money situation, as you get older, I think figuring out your living expenses, that's why I showed you the map of the USA and like how much stuff costs these days. Finding a housing situation that makes sense for you, where you're comfortable in and that you can afford and you're not overburdened, is really the goal, in my opinion, because I think what happens to so many people is they overcommit themselves, right? They constantly have to buy that, new car or lease something every couple of years, right? And they get used to that kind of lifestyle, or they constantly have to go out to eat all the time. And it's fun to go out to eat. I like to go out to eat. I'm sure I do. But you got to be realistic in the kind of stuff that you do, especially as you go up in age as well. Like, do you need those extra 2 bedrooms that are empty all the time, right? Do you need that kind of stuff? And I found the older that I get, because I always talk about expenses, like, cutting your expenses to the sense to the point to where you're just not worried anymore. It creates a lot of stress that just kind of goes away. Like it removes a lot of burden. And that's why I always talk about the overcommitment thing, because I won't mention names, but I'll just say there are YouTubers out there where they're you can just see it in their face. They're like literally stressing all the time, and they're you'll watch. That's why, to be fair, that's one thing that's interesting about YouTube, is like you can literally see people age right before your eyes, stuff like that. And people often ask me, what's my secret? Because if you guys don't know, I'm 49. I just have never really cared what other people think, and that's been a big sort of thing that I've carried with me all through my life. I don't need to chase what all my friends are doing or what they're up to, because if you do that, you're going to find yourself in an unhappy place. It's my opinion. And if other people are, living their dreams and posting all their massive vacations all the time, I'm happy for them if they're comfortable to do it. But again, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. You never know with people what's going on behind the scenes. You don't. We read, I think it was like 6 months ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, and they talked about this. There was a couple that lived out in the Hamptons, which is obviously a nice place, right? That's in, talking about Long Island, out in New York. And, it turned out like I think it's sort of a hedge fund manager or something like that, but his whole life was like based on debt. And he was like up to eyeballs in debt, right? And so, I guess though even the wife didn't even know how bad it was, and she'd be throwing these like massive, thousands of dollars, tens of $1,000 parties, that kind of stuff. And again, you'd have no idea like what people's situations are. Ultimately, that person will just say, uh, ended his own situation early, in a garage. I'll leave it at that. I can't really say that on YouTube, but and then again, you don't know what's happening with people. And from the outside, everyone thought that they were doing absolutely fantastic. And so I guess I just wanted to share different perspectives on life with you guys, and understand that people are struggling out there. I get that, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are where we are today, politically, because people are desperate. Um, and sort of the way to be out of desperation, I'll give you some just general advice. Always be upgrading your skills on a daily basis. Always be learning something new to keep your mind active. It keeps you young, and it keeps you sharp and focused. And there's always room for improvement in everything in your life. By doing that, you also want to be, you do want to have a network of friends. I say friends, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to network with people you don't like, because the more amicable person you are, you're going to help friends that need your help, and they're going to help you. It's just part of life, building a network of people that you truly connect with. The other thing you want to be doing is setting money aside, right? And as I said, there's different ways to think about it. If you want to do market index investing, is a good way to do it. I've been mentioning balance index funds these days because I think bonds are going to be good going forward. I'm not and a big advocate of your cryptos and doggy coins, this kind of thing. Be careful with that hype stuff. But if you do want to play, which I'm not against buying individual stocks, just make sure that's just a portion of your portfolio. And then consider paying off all your debts, which isn't like glamorous or exciting, but it's solid advice. Because again, your goal should be working for a sustainable future. Because these days, guys, I can't promise Social Security is going to be around. Just the way things are going right now, I basically just don't count on it all. I don't know what it's going to do. I just say just don't count, especially for younger people. And then the other thing that I do think is a real is inflation going into 2025. I think it's going to go up, and we may have no growth. So we may be looking at a stagflation environment under Trump. That's sort of why we talk about this stuff coming in, and I just like to have honest perspectives of this kind of stuff. So I think things are going to get kind of ugly next year. Hopefully, well, we'll see, and it depends, which perspective you're on. But I'll say, hopefully, for many people who are looking to, change their circumstances, hopefully the housing market will be a little bit, easier. Right? I know right now it's really, really tough to find stuff. That's why I've been looking at the numbers a lot, and it's a lot of people are struggling out there. So I want to hear your thoughts on kind of how you're doing, what you think about happiness and retirement, and is the American dream still possible? Um, I personally think it is, but I think it's much, much harder than it used to be, and it's hard to do it on a single income. And then that's the honest stuff about this. So do appreciate your time, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.